Good afternoon and welcome to our live inaugural web chat. This is the first time that we do this live here at the U.S. Embassy. So thank you all for being here today. We're joined today by our guest of honor, Lolis Salas. She's the director of DNAF, and we hope that we're able to answer your questions on the adoptions process. She's been with DNAF since 2014. DNAF, again, is the Director of Children, Youth, and Family here in Honduras, and she's been the director since its founding. We're also joined by Melissa Calix. She is our resident adoption expert who also helps us in adjudicating the visas for the children that several of you are interested in adopting. We also want to greet those who are not here today but are watching the chat. USCIS we have some representatives from USCIS who are on hand to answer some of the more technical questions on the petitions as well. And of course, welcome to the agencies, to the parents. We want to thank you all just for opening your hearts to these children and for undergoing this process that we know can be difficult. It's our sincere hope that we're able to answer these questions. We also have with us today, not on camera, but here, two representatives from DNAF, so Sonia Mercadal y Omar Elvir, and we're joined by our Deputy Consul General, Jeff Allen. This is an issue that's very near and dear to his heart, so he may comment on some of the questions going forward, and this is an initiative that he would like us to, or that is very important to him. So just a little, before we begin with the actual questions, and I would encourage you all, as you know, you can submit them live on the YouTube page. We'll be receiving them. We do want to go over a brief intro on DNAF. So many of you know that DNAF is the directorate that handles the adoptions here in Honduras. And it was founded in 2014, so it's a relatively new agency. It's a relatively small team, about 10 people, give or take. But it's a passionate team and one that really focuses on the children and finding good homes for them. On average, we see about 14 adoptions to the U.S. per year, or they help us manage that. And they have a budget of $4 million. So again, they have limitations, but obviously the children are the focus. And that's something that's very important to both them, us, and of course, you guys at home. Just talking environmentally, or the factors here in country, as you know, Honduras is not part of the Hague Adoptions Law or the Hague Convention on Adoptions yet. That's something that's currently under litigation. The law is being reviewed in the courts. But for now, it's our understanding that if the law should pass, it won't be a retroactive one. So the adoptions for the children that you all have that are in process would not be affected by that change, as it wouldn't be retroactive. With regard to the structure of the call, there will be some translation, so that could be a little logistical hiccup, but we thought that it was very important that Lolis be here herself to answer some of your questions, as some of them are technical, and she's the best person in the country really to answer any questions on adoptions. So I'll go ahead and probe the questions that we have from the YouTube link. We also have some questions that some of you are kind enough to send already, so we can begin with those. I'll pose them in English before I ask some of them to Lolis in Spanish, and depending on the technical nature of the answer, Melissa will likely translate Lolis's response. So there is a general structure that we have ready, and we'll begin following that structure regarding some of the themes that some of you have already touched upon. If during that theme you'd like to follow up, please send in your questions. And at the end, we will also do a session for any questions that may have fallen through the cracks. So before we proceed, really fast, and I'd like to go over the relationship between the embassy and DNAF. I think it's very important that we stress that there are really two processes involved in adoptions. So there's the U.S. process that first begins with USCIS, and that begins with filing that I-600A. And then following up with the I-600, the approval, the visa, all that happens on the US side, either with USCIS or the embassy. But the actual adoption process in which families such as yourselves are paired with children and in which the courts approve that adjudication and in which it's finally finalized by DNAF, those are all Honduran processes. So it's not something that the US Embassy can really intervene on. These are Honduran processes that we communicate on, and there is a close relationship between the embassy and DNAF. We've sent 5 DNAF staff to the US in the past for training, and we also provide information to them on best practices and topics such as foster care. We've had training sessions, and we do have frequent meetings. So the relationship is there, and it's strong. And I think we both share the idea that the children are the top priority. But it is important to say that we, the U.S. Embassy, have limitations on what we can tell DNAF, what we can ask of DNAF, and obviously DNAF also has limitations based on Honduran law and the family courts here in Honduras. So it's a process that we respect. It's a process that DNAF very much respects, and it can be a long process. So I just want to stress that from the very beginning. It can be a long process, and we thank you all for undergoing it to adopt these children. And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and begin with some questions on transparency and communication with DNAF. Entonces, con eso, sí, vamos a empezar con las preguntas sobre comunicación. Y gracias por estar con nosotros otra vez, abogada Lolis. Entonces, una de las preguntas que los padres tienen, many of you have asked about direct point of contact with DNAF and what's the best way to communicate with DNAF. So, ¿cuál es la mejor manera de comunicarse con DNAF para los padres que tienen preguntas o dudas sobre sus casos?
Muy buenas tardes. Les saludo desde Honduras. Es un enorme placer y un gran honor para la institución que represento, la Dirección de Niñez, Adolescencia y Familia, que la Embajada Americana haya abierto este espacio de comunicación inédito. Por primera vez se permite garantizar un nivel de comunicación que es necesario. Les saludo de manera muy respetuosa a las familias que nos ven, que nos escuchan, así como a las personas que asumen un nivel de representación legal a través de agencias de adopción y casos directamente gestionados en Honduras. Para la Dirección de Niñez, Adolescencia y Familia, un equipo conformado en estos momentos por 223 personas a nivel nacional. Uno de los temas que impulsamos con gran responsabilidad es dar respuesta a la situación de abandono y de exclusión social de muchos niños y niñas y la oportunidad que el proceso de adopción genera. Yo quiero desde ya manifestar la necesidad de ofrecer a ustedes un mecanismo valioso de comunicación, no para dar respuesta caso por caso como ustedes quisieran. Sabemos que hay muchas dudas, hay muchas inquietudes, pero en estos momentos nos encontramos tratando de construir un sistema confiable, seguro, y el poder estar atendiendo diferentes consultas que puedan estar ingresando día con día nuestra institución. Esto significa tiempo muy valioso para poder dar respuesta a casos que se han encontrado postergados y que no permiten ofrecer una oportunidad de una familia permanente a un niño o niña. Tenemos canales de comunicación que vamos a eficientar, pero por ahora estamos construyendo un sistema confiable, un sistema que permita tener la fundamentación normativa necesaria para poder darle respuestas a ustedes como familias, pero con especial prioridad a los niños y las niñas.
Good afternoon from Honduras. It is an honor for DNAF to be represented here and before the U.S. Embassy. We are very thankful because it is the first time that we have this channel of communication open. I thank to everybody who is listening. And first of all, would like to tell you that DNAF has 220 staff members all around the country. One of the subjects that it's closer to my heart is abandonment, as that is the first step for an adoption process to initiate. I would like to offer you a channel of communication, and maybe we cannot respond to all of your inquiries on case-by-case basis like you would like to, but we want to tell you that we are working on that. And I believe that is the email address where all the families can address their inquiries regarding their cases.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. So there is, and Lolis brings up some excellent points. So we will be going over some of the general questions that you guys ask. We ask that you keep them as general as you can, as a specific case-by-case questions. We may not have that information available. However, if there are more specific questions, we'll go ahead and give you the email address for the embassy and also an email address that you can contact DNF at. So the embassy email address, for those of you that may not have it, is tggadoptions@state.gov. And we would respond to inquiries there. If there are inquiries that perhaps are more directed at DNF, that email address is consolidacion@dnaf.gov.hn. We can go ahead and add this to the YouTube link so that you guys can see this written down. So if we wouldn't mind just adding that. But that email address for DNF is consolidacion@dnaf.gov.hn. And at the end of the session, we'll go ahead and write these all out for you guys as well, as I know it may be a little difficult online to get that. Also, it occurs to me that I haven't introduced myself, so I'm not just some random guy. My name is Dave Mendez. I'm a consular officer here that works in the immigrant visa section. So I would be the officer that interviews prospective parents, many of you, at the end of the process. And hopefully, at least in what I've seen, by that point, everything's squared away. It's an easy interview. There aren't any issues. It's getting there that can take a long time. So again, it's a long process, and we thank you for your patience. So a lot of the questions we're seeing here today and that the agencies have also sent to us concerns the adoptions list. So we're going to go ahead and ask about whether or not this list exists, the list of parents in waiting, and how parents can go about finding out their place on that list, or even if that's something that's still done. Entonces, abogada Lolis, ahorita ya hemos recibido varias preguntas sobre la lista de espera de los padres. Muchos de los padres ya han mencionado que es una lista que existió en el pasado y que les ayudó colocar dónde estaban en esa lista o cuánto tiempo más tenían que esperar, y lamentan que, según ellos, no tienen acceso a esa lista. Entonces, queremos saber si todavía existe esa lista de espera, y si sí existe, si hay una manera de saber el número de espera.
Muy bien. De las solicitudes de personas estadounidenses que están esperando una respuesta de adopción para un niño o una niña, tenemos un total de 64 solicitudes que están en espera. Son 15 agencias de adopción que representan estas solicitudes, de las cuales están actualmente en un proceso de revisión para también determinar el nivel de responsabilidad en el cumplimiento de la entrega de seguimiento de los casos de los niños que han sido asignados. Sabemos que los 64 casos son casos que se encuentran en espera. Este es un tema que ha causado mucha preocupación y también venimos obligados a informar de que el concepto lista de espera era un concepto que se utilizaba en la institución anterior. El concepto que utiliza actualmente la Dirección de Niñez, Adolescencia y Familia es el registro de solicitantes. Esta es una herramienta que se utiliza para los procesos de adopción y significa contar con una lista ordenada de las personas que son solicitantes, tanto personas nacionales como extranjeras. No es una lista de espera, quiero aclararlo, pero sí respeta el orden de llegada de las familias. Es importante que todas las personas que nos escuchan puedan entender que el orden de registro de las familias no determina el orden de la asignación. Existen diferentes variables que determinan la respuesta que debe tener cada niño y cada niña. en espera de una familia. No es la respuesta para la familia, es la respuesta para los niños y las niñas. Y eso significa analizar los presupuestos de idoneidad mediante el certificado que determina el cumplimiento de los diferentes requisitos para cada familia, valorados por equipos multidisciplinarios. También las condiciones de origen, dado que se prioriza, de acuerdo a nuestro Código de la Niñez y la Adolescencia, que los niños y niñas sean adoptados por familias nacionales. Y también, y para terminar esta parte, las condiciones especiales de aquellos niños y niñas que se encuentran con algún grado de discapacidad o enfermedades que requieren un cuidado especial. Y en esto interviene la decisión a través de diferentes equipos también multidisciplinarios y la participación de diferentes actores que trabajan en diferentes colegios profesionales que nos apoyan para tomar la mejor decisión para la vida de los niños y las niñas.
We have a total of 64 U.S. families applying for an adoption. We have 15 U.S. adoption agencies registered at DNAF. This is a situation that is currently under review as for DNAF, and according to Honduran law, they have to comply with their follow-ups. This may be we understand that the waiting list may be a concern, but this is an old concept that it was used in the past in the other institution. Right now, what we have, it's a list of applicants. It is not a waiting list, and I want to be very clear in that, because we do respect the moment that these people apply and that their file is that we do the intake of their application at DNAF, but that doesn't determine the order that they will have an assignation, because what we are looking for is an answer for the children and not for the families. We have a committee that has to review every family, and they have to review that every family has the conditions that every children needs. There are also two special conditions according to Honduran law. One of them is that Hondurans have the priority, and the other one is that we have children with special needs.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that, Melissa. And I do want to, I'll ask some questions for clarifications, because it seems that the list was more so a function of INFA, which was the organization that preceded DNAF. And so while DNAF may have continued using that list for some time, it wasn't something that they were necessarily beholden to. Now, it seems that Lolis mentions there is a list now, but it's not a waiting list, right? And so, solo quiero aclarar que ustedes tienen una lista entonces, abogada Lolis, pero no es una lista de preferencia donde sigan, número 1 va primero, el que sigue en el número 14 iría...
Se respeta el orden de llegada. Sí se respeta el orden de llegada, pero no necesariamente el número que continúa representando una familia, esa familia que va a tener la oportunidad de adoptar un niño o una niña. Lo que se prioriza es la condición de cada niño y niña, sabiendo que hay 2 o 3 opciones de familias que ingresan al proceso de decisión para la asignación, en la cual se determina precisamente cuál sería el mayor grado de bienestar de ese niño o niña, de acuerdo a su edad, a su condición especial y a su misma condición originaria, sabiendo si puede estar mejor en un entorno nacional o extranjero, que se determina la respuesta para cada niño o cada niña.
Gracias, abogada. Y hemos recibido otras preguntas sobre eso. Entonces, to clarify, there is a list, and there are 64 families, U.S. families currently seeking adoption in the U.S., and DNAF does respect the list and pays attention to the order in which they came in. However, the order or your place on that list is not a guarantee of that it will necessarily go in that order, as the well-being of the child is what comes first and foremost, and that may cause some families to be skipped over if they aren't the best fit for that child. Melissa, I don't know if you want to add to that, if that seems to be...
That seems to be what, yes, like they will respect a lot the child's origin, their special needs, their age. So that's
right. So there are several factors in each individual case for each child that may not necessarily lead to the next family on that list. So while it is a list, it's not necessarily going to go
1, 2, 3, 4.
consecutively. Now, just to clarify, if parents can find their position on that list, solo queremos aclarar, los padres tienen una manera de saber cuál es su número en esa lista.
Tenemos una necesidad de transparentar los procesos. Las comunicaciones después de que se realizan los procesos de asignación son comunicadas oficialmente para que las personas que están tramitando los procesos como sus apoderados legales tengan conocimiento de cuál es la decisión que se ha tomado caso por caso. Esa es una obligación que tenemos. Si no se ha estado haciendo, de acuerdo a nuestra responsabilidad, no podemos ocultar tampoco los procesos. Debemos ser transparentes. Hay información que sí debe ser confidencial de los casos de los niños y niñas, pero las respuestas que nosotros vayamos procesando en el comité de asignación debemos informarlas para que también las familias que están esperando y que llevan varios tiempo y están también incurriendo en altos costos, porque sabemos el alto costo que implica una adopción, también tengan la oportunidad de saber cómo se procesa su caso, porque sabemos que las apoderadas legales, en su mayoría mujeres, están permanentemente siendo consultadas específicamente por este tema. Yo quisiera, si la oportunidad también lo permite, poder hablar de otros temas asociados a lo que significa una respuesta para llegar a ese momento, porque pareciera que solamente el problema es la lista o el registro de los solicitantes. Ese no es únicamente el problema. Hay un problema de mayores dimensiones. Aquí debemos de saber todos y todas que tenemos una responsabilidad compartida como gobiernos y también como seres humanos que somos, unos como funcionarios y otros como familias que esperan la respuesta de una adopción. Y de eso vamos a hablar el día de hoy, el saber de aquí en este momento que somos diferentes gentes involucrados en la respuesta de los casos de transformación de la vida de los niños y las niñas.
So in a need of being transparent, all the assignations are communicated through the attorneys. We cannot hide what we do in our processes, and that's the reason why attorneys are constantly consulted in this matter. We think that the major problem here, it's not the waiting list. There are more deeper and stronger problems, and I think this is something that we should discuss right now today.
Okay, so we were going to discuss some of the embassy processes and USCIS processes, but out of respect for time and the several questions that the audience has, we'll move on to the DNAF processes of adoptions. And if there are any questions about the embassy process, we can follow up with that. And you could also send us the email at the address that was provided, and we'll be providing again at the end of the broadcast. But just looking over some of the questions about the process of adoption, and touching on something that Lolis has mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and ask about the assignment process and what's taken into consideration when families are paired with the children, and what that looks like, who sits on that committee. Entonces, solo como usted ya mencionó la asignación, abogada Lolis, queremos saber más sobre ese proceso.
Sí.
Entonces, si nos puede, y vamos a hacer varias preguntas, entonces pueden ser respuestas cortas porque tenemos varias. La primera es, ¿quién toma parte de la comité de asignación? So the first question is who's part of the selection committee, the assignment committee?
Antes de dar respuesta a quién toma parte en el comité de asignación, quiero que las personas que están escuchándonos y viéndonos, también es importante hacer referencia a todos los entes que participan en la respuesta de vida de un niño o niña, iniciando por el ente que otorga la protección a un niño o niña en condición de orfandad o abandono, la Dirección de Niñez, Adolescencia y Familia. Esta instancia también tramita e impulsa una condición de declaratoria de abandono que determina la adoptabilidad de un niño o niña. Hasta que esa situación de adoptabilidad, cuando se declara una sentencia judicial no administrativa. La resolución administrativa la emite DINAF para decir este niño o niña no puede ser reclamado por ningún familiar y por lo tanto puede ser adoptado. Este caso se somete a validación de otra instancia, que es una instancia judicial, para declarar definitivamente la condición de orfandad y consecuentemente la condición de adoptabilidad. El caso regresa nuevamente a la Dirección de Niñez, Adolescencia y Familia. Ahí se termina de procesar el expediente por el programa de consolidación familiar, diferente al programa que protege al niño, para luego que el apoderado o apoderada legal impulse el procedimiento ante el juzgado de letras de familia. Una vez que se determina la adopción por el juzgado de letras de familia, se devuelve nuevamente a la Dirección de Niñez, Adolescencia y Familia para lograr toda la culminación del proceso de adopción. Entonces no podemos quedarnos, reducirnos únicamente a lo que pasa en ese momento de decisión del comité de asignación y la lista de espera o un registro de solicitantes. Es importante que vayamos también empoderándonos y entendiendo la dimensión de este tipo de procesos.
Before we talk about what is the committee, who sits in the committee, it's important for you to understand that there's a process and it's integrated by a few entities, government entities. First enough is the one that works on determining if a child is abandoned or if a child is adoptable. They have to work on a report and they have to do all the social report and the psychological information. And when they do that, they have to submit it for a validation to the childhood court. If the childhood court validates all the findings that DNAF has, the cases go back to DNAF. Then they go to the Department of Consolidación Familiar. They work on this child's report, and then the child will be ready to be assigned to the perfect or the best family. After DNAF assigns the child, the case goes back to the family court, who they will have to review everything. They issue a sentence, and then the case goes back to DNAF so that the families and DNAF can sign a final adoption decree. This is the whole process and everybody that is integrating.
So if I could just elaborate on that, and that's an important point that Lilies and Melissa have mentioned. And a lot of you have asked about the abandonment process, which we know has taken very long in the past. The abandonment process is something that happens before even a child is even assigned or goes before the committee to be assigned. And that's something that a family court will have to decide on. And that's a process that's largely out of DNAF's hands.
Well, DNAF has to make the study of these children.
Right.
And if DNAF thinks that these children have nobody that have visited, that they have been living in orphanages and there's no relatives near, then they write a report. This report goes to the childhood court, and it's the childhood court through a sentence that validates everything that DNAF, all of DNAF's findings. And then that is the abandonment declaration.
Right. So, and then just to go over the steps that Melissa mentioned, there's the abandonment sentence, which would happen before the assignment committee or the matching committee. Then the matching committee would assign the child to a prospective family. If the family should choose to go forward with that child, that would then move to the family court. From the family court, it then goes back to DNAF, where the final decree is granted, and at which point you could then begin the process with the embassy to schedule that interview and get the visa for travel. But I do want to get back to the assignment committee for those of you that have those specific questions on that. Gracias, Loli, por esa respuesta. Entonces, regresando al comité de asignación, ¿quién toma parte de ese comité y cuánta gente son? ¿Quién es que toma parte?
Bien, este es un espacio interdisciplinario en el cual no solo participa personal técnico y multidisciplinario de la DINAF. También participan representantes de colegios profesionales por su valor científico y su aporte técnico y especializado, como el Colegio Médico de Honduras, como el Colegio de Trabajadores Sociales, el Colegio de Psicólogos y el Colegio de Abogados de Honduras. Estos sectores han trabajado desde la creación de DINAF para tomar las decisiones en cada caso de los niños y las niñas. Y si me permiten brevemente, puedo, por ejemplo, mencionar que desde nuestra gestión en marzo de 2015, cuando iniciamos a trabajar en este tema, hemos otorgado 149 asignaciones de niños y niñas a 133 familias. Es importante analizar la estadística para que ustedes también entiendan la dimensión y cómo la estadística también se ha reorientado a que Honduras en este momento, después Estados Unidos en segundo lugar, está siendo el país de donde vienen las mayores solicitudes de adopción. En el año 2015 fueron 44 adopciones nacionales, 20 internacionales. En el año 2016, 24 nacionales y 18 internacionales. En este año, 27 nacionales y 16 internacionales, para un total de 95 nacionales y 54 internacionales. Y un punto que me parece muy importante para que ustedes sepan también, de que la condición de adoptabilidad de un niño o niña también la permite la figura del consentimiento. En el año 2016, familias dieron en adopción a sus hijos e hijas, fueron 11. En el año 2016, 17. En el año 2017, 19. Los casos de los niños en condición de abandono, 27 en el 2015, 12 en el 2016 y 12 en el 2017. Y este es un último punto, y perdonen que me he pasado el tiempo. Tenemos una estadística que se viene arrastrando desde que se reformó el Código de la Niñez y la Adolescencia en el año 2013. La potestad exclusiva que tenía anteriormente los juzgados de letras de la niñez se le traslada al entonces Instituto Hondureño de la Niñez y la Familia. Al cerrarse el INFA, asume la responsabilidad de la decisión de la tramitación de los abandonos y acompañar el proceso de adopción, la DINAF, y la decisión que tomaron los juzgados de letras de la niñez antes de la reforma del Código de la Niñez en el año 2013 determinó la ubicación de niños y niñas en familias sustitutas. En el año 2015 se asignaron 26 niños a familias sustitutas, 13 a familias sustitutas, 13 familias en el año 2016 y 12 en el año 2017, un total de 51. Fueron niños y niñas que crecieron desde corta edad y ahora tienen aproximadamente 8, 9, 10 años. Esos niños fueron entregados a esas familias y asignados a través de la decisión del comité de asignación.
Okay, so to talk specifically about the people sitting in the assignation committee, they are people from the technical side of DINAF, but also from the medical colegio médico, that would be like a bar.
Medical examination, bar.
Yeah, like the bar of medicals, of social workers, psychologists, of attorneys. And this has been a team that has been accompanying DINAF through every assignation since March 2015. I would like to also say that since that date, we have assigned 149 children to 133 families. This statistic is important for you to understand more, because most of these families, most of these children are being assigned first place to Honduras and then U.S. families. She was talking about some of the statistics of assignment that I believe that maybe she can lend us in the future, so we can post those in the page if anybody is interested. And the other figure that Abogada Lolis was talking about is about the consentimiento, that those are very high statistics, and they have been working on with foster families that these children have been working with this, have been living for too long with these foster families. So they work in a plan where they allow these families to introduce their adoption application, and they have been assigned 26 families, 26 children to these foster families.
Right. And so of those numbers that Abogada Lolis and Melissa shared, just it's important to reiterate that in most cases, or in all cases, the priority goes to finding homes here in Honduras, if it's at all possible, for those children. So of those several adoptions that have occurred, the majority have gone to Honduran homes. But for those of you interested in numbers of American families adopting Hondurans in the previous years, in 2015 there were 12. In 2016 we had 17 adoptions, and in 2017 fiscal year we had 14 children from Honduras go to American homes. Now, some of you have asked, there are some follow-up questions on abandonment. Entonces, about who looks at who processes the abandonments, and how many employees go through with that and what the annual rate is like. So we can ask that and then move on to the U.S. process, as we're now getting questions about that as well. Entonces, abogada Lolis, una de las preguntas que tenemos de los padres es, regresando a el abandono, como usted ya dijo que el DINAF primero tiene que hacer ese estudio. Ellos quieren saber cuántos de los 200 empleados que usted mencionó trabajan en el proceso de abandono y cuántos abandonamientos son declarados cada año. Si nos puede dar un número, no tiene que ser exacto, pero si tiene un estimado.
Bien, es importante que sepan que hay una estructura nacional de 224 empleados, hay una distribución en 6 oficinas regionales. La mayor cantidad de empleados y empleadas que tienen estas oficinas regionales son 13 personas. Una de ellas, por ejemplo, es un conductor y una persona de aseo. Cuando existe la posibilidad de tener esta persona que apoye con la limpieza, estaríamos hablando, por ejemplo, que en cada oficina regional hay 9 personas que tienen responsabilidades técnicas especializadas, pero que no directamente están relacionadas con la tramitación de los procesos de abandono. También desarrollan responsabilidades en materia de justicia penal especial, tienen responsabilidades también para coordinar con todos los entes que tienen presencia en un municipio para desarrollar acciones de prevención y de promoción de derechos de la niñez, así como atender temas relacionados con migración y sustracción internacional de niños. La mayor cantidad de personal que tiene una responsabilidad en la decisión en este tipo de casos está en las zonas regionales más delicadas, más complejas por la situación de orfandad, de abandono, de violencia e inseguridad. La zona de Cortés en San Pedro Sula y la zona de Francisco Morazán, donde no hay un promedio mayor a 20 personas que tienen una responsabilidad técnica y especializada para poder intervenir en el impulso de las declaratorias de abandono para procesar los casos en materia administrativa y determinar las condiciones de protección que requiera cada caso.
¿Serían 20 abogadas entre Cortés y Francisco Morazán o 20 para Cortés y 20 para Francisco?
20 aproximadamente. Para Francisco Morazán, 20 para la zona de Cortés, y estaríamos hablando de aproximadamente 8 personas en el resto de las 4 oficinas regionales. Estamos hablando de 32 más 20 y 20, estamos hablando de 30, 50, 70 personas, 75 personas aproximadamente, que son las que deciden y participan en este tipo de intervenciones y no directamente relacionadas al tema, porque siendo muy escaso nuestro personal, tenemos que trabajar en diferentes acciones. Una de ellas, por ejemplo, el certificar y el elevar altos estándares de respuesta y de atención en aquellos espacios de protección para los niños y las niñas. Me refiero a organizaciones no gubernamentales. Hemos logrado, con el apoyo del Banco Interamericano de Desarrollo, identificar a 176 organizaciones. De 140 identificadas, ya hay un avance estadístico aproximado de 4.119 niños y niñas que se encuentran en estos espacios de protección. Nuestra labor no solamente es de respuesta a la condición de orfandad y la determinación de un abandono. También tenemos la responsabilidad de asumir la rectoría a nivel nacional para que diferentes actores participen en la realización de los derechos de la niñez, para garantizar la implementación de las políticas públicas y las leyes y la normativa, así como las leyes nacionales y la normativa también internacional suscrita por el Estado de Honduras. Pueden entender que nuestro mandato es de grandes dimensiones.
Gracias.
We do have 224 staff members around Honduras. This is divided within 6 offices, but this staff, you need to understand that includes even drivers and cleaning staff. There are no our staff is not only working on abandonment processes, they do work with child abduction, they do work with children that has legal actions, and we can say that we have 20 people working in Cortés and in Francisco Morazan, which they have the higher population of children, and we have 8 people in the rest of the offices. So maybe 75 people working directly with children. But this, as she wants to make clear, that this staff is also working with NGOs. They have identified 176 NGOs working in Honduras, taking care of more than 4,000 children, and they have to guarantee that these children's rights are being taken care of.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I think another point that Lolis was trying to make there is that although the abandonment process and doing this the matching process for the adoptions is very, very important, and it is a priority, when staff are working on the abandonment process and reports, that's time that they aren't caring for children, when in some cases it would be the same staff that may have may have to deal with some of those tasks. So as something that we mentioned from the start has been that, you know, DNF, they are limited in their resources, and it's a process that is near and dear to their hearts, but they have limitations, and as do we. And I know that that's not the answer that some of you had hoped to hear, but the process can take a while. Some of you have asked to address some of the direct questions on the U.S. process of adoption. For those of you that have had or are near to have adoptions that have already been finalized and approved in Honduras, you've asked how the process is to go about getting that visa. So I'll go ahead and discuss this part, and Melissa can add in perhaps if USCIS wants to add to the responses via chat, they can do that. Solo voy a hablar sobre el proceso americano de cómo aplicar o solicitar la visa cuando ya tienen la adopción.
Si me permite un segundito.
Okay.
Sí, solo quiero enfatizar en un punto muy importante cuando hablamos del registro de solicitantes, antes lista de espera, y en lo que significa, por ejemplo, que en este momento tenemos 10 niños que superan los 10 años con condiciones especiales. Ninguna familia quiere adoptar este niño o niña. Las 15 agencias de adopción que están registradas, que están siendo revisadas minuciosamente para conocer cuál es el nivel de la vigencia de la licencia para operar en Honduras. Incluso de las 15, de las 64 solicitudes en espera, hay 20 solicitudes de las 64 que corresponden únicamente a una agencia de adopción. Si podemos revisar, por ejemplo, las características de los niños y niñas que se solicitan, son muy escasas, prácticamente nulas las solicitudes de niños y niñas con alguna condición especial, alguna condición de discapacidad. Los niños que se piden son perfectos y son sanos. Honduras es un país con suma pobreza extrema. Sin embargo, estamos priorizando que los niños y niñas se devuelvan, que reintegren a sus familias y que los programas sociales de nuestro gobierno apoyen a aquellas familias que se encuentran con condiciones económicas precarias. La adopción es la última medida de protección para un niño o niña, pero como lo dije al inicio, la responsabilidad es compartida y por lo tanto las agencias de adopción deben entender también cuál es el nivel de responsabilidad también para configurar la posibilidad, como lo previene la Convención de la Haya en materia de adopción internacional, el poder eliminar las características de los niños y niñas que se solicitan para adopción. Estos son temas de alto contenido humano y en ese sentido también nuestra responsabilidad está orientada a garantizar un nivel de respuesta con alto grado de responsabilidad y también alto compromiso humano.
¿Estos 10 niños son niños que ustedes de necesidades especiales o son de edad, abogada, que no los han querido?
Superan los 10 años
Okay.
y se encuentran con capacidades especiales. El equipo de consolidación familiar permanentemente ha notificado a todas las apoderadas legales de los casos de estos niños y niñas.
Okay.
A este momento son niños y niñas que se encuentran con un nivel de adoptabilidad, pero no encontramos ni familias nacionales ni familias extranjeras que quieran adoptar a estos
Yeah,
niños.
that's an important point.
So talking about the applicants registry list, I would like to mention that there are 10 children that they already have an abandonment sentence. They are ready to be adopted by a family, but because these children have special needs and they are over the age of 10 years old, we have no applicants interested in them. We have promoted this within our 15 U.S. adoption agencies. One of the agencies has 20 applicants, but nobody wants really to adopt these children. We understand everybody wants healthy and beautiful children, but it is a level of responsibility that we would like to share. And we need to understand that DNF's goal is not the adoption, but seek for these children to be protected, to seek for these children to be living within their own families, and being the adoption will be like the last resource for them.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and that's an important point, I believe, that Loli really feels deep in her heart that, I mean, if there are families who are willing to take children, even with medical conditions or children that are older and not necessarily infants or toddlers, to make that clear in the adoptions process or in the adoption application with DNAF, because those are largely the children that are ready to be adopted. They are on the list. They've had the abandonment issue settled already, and finding homes for them has resulted to be very difficult. So if there are those of you out there, or also for the agencies who know that there are parents that may want any child from Honduras, that's another factor to consider when placing the application, so that those children could have the possibility of being matched sooner. But moving on to the questions on after the adoptions process has been finalized here in Honduras, once that final adoption decree, so once it's already gone through the court, a child has been matched with a family, and it's approved by the court, it goes back to DNF where they receive the final adoption decree. With that final adoption decree in hand, the adopting families can then schedule an appointment with the embassy. They would have to file their I-600 with USCIS, and at that point, they could file the I-600 at post here in Honduras if one parent is here in Honduras. Otherwise, they would file that I-600 from within the United States to USCIS. The one perk of filing here is you save on the processing time that could take, how would we say, a few weeks, a month or so?
No, it could take up to 2 months.
Up to 2 months. So that time can be saved if a parent is willing to, if they're here in country and they want to file the I-600 here at post. The purpose of that I-600 then, it would be reviewed, and the purpose of that would be to verify that the adopted child does in fact meet the criteria of a child and an orphan according to U.S. law standards. And at that point, the embassy would then notify the parents via email once that I-600 is approved. On the approval of that I-600, they would then be sent notifications on how to submit their DS-260 and how to get the medical examinations done so that they can continue for that final interview. Now, in the email, the interval of times between having the I-600 approved, getting the DS-260 and the meds, it only takes about, adoptions are a priority with the medical physicians that the embassy has. So it's only about a business day to schedule that medical assignment after you've found that your I-600 has been approved. From there, scheduling an appointment, the final appointment for the visa, it normally takes about 1 or 2 business days once all the documents are ready. So, adoptions are a priority, and after the adoption decree has been finalized, it's realistic to have the U.S. Embassy process done within a week. But that depends on families. There are some that take longer for the medical examinations, or may file the DS-260 later. But maybe I missed something that you want to add to that part, Melissa.
Not really, but I think that the most difficult part for the families are when they are here in country. And I've seen that in many of the agencies having this inquiry about the registry part. So when the families sign the final adoption decree, they have to go to the RNP, Registro Nacional de las Personas, and get the new birth certificate. This birth certificate will be with the child's new name. And until for the parents or for the families to get that new birth certificate, that the law says that it has to be within 15 days. So those are 2 weeks that the families are staying here in Honduras. They cannot file the I-600 with us because they don't have the complete documentation. And we understand that this is the most frustrating part of the process. They have been waiting 5-6 years on a waiting list. They have their child here, they're living in a hotel, but please keep in mind that you have 2 options. You may do it in the United States or you may do it here. Unfortunately, we cannot work with the RNP in a different way, but we have to respect our terms.
So at this time, Lolis has a comment or an addition that she would like to make as well. Abogada Lolis, ¿quiere añadir algo en este momento?
Creo que tenemos poco tiempo ya, ¿verdad?
Nos falta como 10 minutos.
Ah,
sí.
muy bien. Bueno, si gusta puede continuar y puedo para hacer como plantear algunas sugerencias, preocupaciones y el estado actual en que nos encontramos para no quedarnos en la especificidad, sino saber cuál es la responsabilidad que tiene el Estado de Honduras a través de la DINAF en este tema tan sensible y delicado.
Okay. Melissa, I don't know if at this time, or even if USCIS has comments on the processes that Melissa and I just described, if you want to add some clarifications there. In the meantime, so at this time, we have reviewed the medical examination procedures, the DS-260, the form that you would file, and also the birth registry topic that Melissa has discussed. That could take time in getting the needed documents for filing that I-600. But once all those items are in hand, the process for getting the visa is relatively short. We do have indexes that have all the listed required, all the documents needed, both for DNAF, for the initial I-600A, and for the final I-600. And those indexes indicate which documents you need to have in order to schedule those. So we'll be happy to share links to those at the end of the show. And if you have any particular questions, we could also follow up via email. At this time, I'm not sure if parents have more general questions about embassy processes or communicating with the embassy, or questions, 1 or 2 more questions that we could follow up with DNAF on. But if there are some of those, we encourage you to send those. Okay. So there is a question on Honduran residents who are U.S. citizens and whether or not the process is different. And so Melissa can touch a bit on this, and I'll also ask, actually, you would be the person on this. So for American parents adopting in Honduras who also happen to be U.S. residents.
Yes.
Or Honduran residents, excuse me.
So it is a little bit difficult for U.S. parents living in Honduras as legal permanent residents. In the first part of the process where they are DNAF, they are being considered with as a priority, even though they're not Hondurans, they live in countries, so that the follow-up is on DNAF. For this process, DNAF does the home study and everything, so they be assigned and they get assigned and everything. The different part of the process is when they want to immigrate their child to the United States, because with that, they need to have a U.S. adoption agency certifying the home study that DNAF has already done for them. As we know, the requirements are different. Those requirements are stated by the Code of Federal Regulations. And so it's a little bit hard for these families to work with agencies in the United States. The other part of the process is that they may file the I-600A and I-600 concurrently at post. We will review, work on the verification of all the documents, but it will be USCIS El Salvador that has jurisdiction over Honduras, who will have the final decision on the application.
Okay. I think so. We'll wrap up with one more question, and this is one that we've received several emails and calls about. So follow up with this, and then we'll have Lolis give her remarks. But there's a question on whether or not foster parents or parents who have lived with a child since early infancy could then request that specific child. Abogada Lolis, una de las preguntas comunes que hemos recibido regresa al tema de poder elegir un niño. Entonces, si los padres han vivido o han conocido con un niño específico por varios años, es posible que ellos eligen ese niño o hacen una solicitud para ese niño específico.
Ninguna familia puede escoger a un niño o niña. Esa determinación la toma la Dirección de Niñas, Adolescencia y Familia de acuerdo a los estudios técnicos y multidisciplinarios que determinen diferentes circunstancias. Una de ellas puede ser precisamente el arraigo o el apego que se tenga con determinada familia, pero también analizar las circunstancias de ese niño o niña. Quiero también enfatizar de que un niño o niña que se encuentra en condición de orfandad, mientras no se determine una declaratoria de abandono a través de las instancias que participan en esta decisión, en cualquier momento puede volver a su seno familiar. La prioridad que nosotros tenemos en estos momentos es de reintegrar a los niños y niñas a su familia. Ningún niño o niña por condiciones económicas puede ser candidato para adopción. Si hay dificultades económicas en una familia, la Constitución de la República de Honduras establece de que los programas sociales del gobierno deben volverse con prioridad para poder sacar de esa condición de pobreza a esa familia, para que no exista una justificación para una adopción o que ese niño o niña vive en una situación de calle. Los niños y niñas no pueden ser sujetos de ningún tipo de negociación, de contrato, de acuerdo. La decisión la toma el ente especializado con la participación de los entes que tienen la responsabilidad en materia judicial.
No family can choose the child that they want to adopt. This has been a very thought and studied decision that DNF has taken. We analyze each children's circumstance, and what we think it's our priority right now is to get these children that are not in the very best circumstance to get these children back to their family. If we do not have an abandonment, these children can go back to their family of origin. We cannot have adoptions because children are poor, and we cannot admit negotiation or contracts in adoption cases.
Right. So, and on that, there have been cases in the past in which, for relinquishment, biological parents of children have come to an agreement with prospective adoptive parents that they would name them as the person they preferred for the child to be, they've elected for the child to be adopted by. And so something that both Lolis and Melissa are basically touching on is eliminating that incentive for financial transactions, in which case the adoption case might be perceived as, or even actually be motivated by economic factors. So obviously, DNAF in making their decisions does not allow for those parents to go ahead and select a child, even if they've lived together for that amount of time. So at this time, we are concluding. So we're going to have some closing remarks from Lolis and from the embassy. Just summing up, if I could, briefly what Lolis had said. One of the mantras that DNAF has and that the embassy has is that these adoptions it's really about padres para niños y no niños para padres, or parents for children, finding those parents, the best ideal candidates for these children, rather than finding children for parents. And that's something that DNAF really takes into consideration, which isn't to say that the requests and special considerations of families aren't considered, but the children are always the number one priority for DNAF. So at this time, abogada Loli, si quiere concluir o dar unas palabras para concluir, puede hacerlo.
Me adelanto a sumarme a ese mensaje tan importante que usted ha enviado. Padres y madres para niños. Esa es nuestra prioridad, ese es nuestro mandato. Recuerdo, esta es una responsabilidad compartida y colegiada. Honduras viene obligado en estos momentos a lanzar su tercer intento por tener un marco normativo confiable, seguro, transparente. Hemos hablado de temas sueltos y dispersos, hemos hablado de diferentes responsabilidades institucionales, pero aquí todos y todas somos parte. Honduras no cuenta con una ley de adopciones, quiero que ustedes lo sepan. En este momento nos estamos decidiendo, estamos trabajando con el Poder Ejecutivo, con el Poder Judicial y con el Poder Legislativo para lograr concretar antes de que termine esta gestión el poder tener una ley de adopciones en la cual todos y todas podamos sentirnos seguros, bajo la cual y bajo su implementación entienda que no va a haber privilegios ni favoritismos para nadie. En el orden de prioridad de cada niño y niña, la institución responsable de decidir estos procesos con la participación del juzgado, de los juzgados de letras de la niñez para determinar la condición de adoptabilidad y de los juzgados de familia para determinar la posibilidad de un consentimiento y una determinación de la adopción, vamos a tener que decidir responsablemente y trascender con respuestas efectivas y eficientes para que una adopción internacional no supere un año. 5 o 6 años ha durado un proceso. Sus familias para recibir un niño o niña hondureña. Pero en este momento estamos ordenando nuestro sistema. Queremos trabajar de manera segura y sostenible con la participación de socios estratégicos, en este momento representados por la Embajada Americana. Y sabemos que con el concurso de todos y todas ustedes vamos a lograrlo. Finalmente, si me permiten, desde ya me comprometo con nuestro equipo a entregar un resumen ejecutivo de todos los temas que han sido abordados el día de hoy, para que quede la evidencia de cuál es el trabajo que nosotros estamos haciendo en cada uno de estos temas y de ya solicitar a la Embajada Americana la posibilidad de tener encuentros similares a este en los próximos tiempos para poder mejorar nuestros niveles de comunicación, pero desde ya la Dirección de Niñas, Adolescencia y Familia les anuncia que trabajando como queremos hacerlo y como lo hemos estado haciendo, estaremos dando respuestas más sostenibles para la vida de los niños y niñas.
So I agree with this message that you have given, fathers and mothers for children. This is the third try that Honduras has to get an adoption law. We want to let you know that we are working with the executive power, legislative, and judicial power to make this law work. We don't want to have anybody to have privileges. We want to give positive answers to these children. We don't want cases lasting 5-6 years. Our goal is to have adoption cases in less than 1 year. We do not agree on adoptions having a cost of $44,000 or euros, because we believe that these families have open hearts to have these children and to adopt them, and these children cannot be an object of a business. We want to make a resume of everything that we have been talking and discussing, and we ask the embassy that we can have more encounters like this so we can discuss more of these cases, this and more.
Muchas gracias. Okay, so just to follow that up then, so as many of you know, there is that law, the adoptions law, the Hague Convention that Honduras is trying to accede to, and that is an issue that the embassy is following, and we hope to apprise both the parents and agencies about when those changes do occur. But that is an ongoing process, and for the meanwhile, under the current process, those adoptions can last from 5 to 6 years, as both Melissa and Abogada Lolis have mentioned. So we want to, at this time, thank you all again for opening your hearts and your homes to these Honduran children. We know that this is something that parents and even the workers of the agencies are very passionate about. We're going to do our best. Then we have some statistics and some numbers that DNAF has, so we could post those, as well as the indexes for what documentations may be required.
And that's in the handout that already
and
is.
it's also a handout. There's a link that we'll go ahead and add to the YouTube page, but we could send a follow-up email to the agencies that perhaps they can share with families. And I'm sorry we weren't able to get to all the questions today due to limitations on time, but hopefully those tables and the indexes cover some of the general questions, and we do encourage those follow-up questions at tggadoptions@state.gov. So we thank you all for joining us again today, and we're here to help in the best way we can. Y gracias, Abogada Lolis, por estar aquí y por ser una socia bien passionate. Apasionante sobre este tema.
Gracias a ustedes por la oportunidad.
Gracias.
Por los niños y las niñas de Honduras.